Okay, we're live. It is Monday night in Ireland or the United Kingdom. It's the 21st of July, 2025. Welcome to one and all. Already quite a few heads popping about in the live chat from all over the place. Judith Grimes, welcome to you in Canada. You're 5 hours behind, I think, 3 p.m., 8 p.m. I know that from my old radio days. Anybody in the east coast of America was 5 hours behind. So whereabouts in Canada are you? Where are you people listening in from tonight? Coming from all over the place. Chris Byrne, I'm well. Thank you very much. How are you doing? Paul's listening in from Waterford. Fredzer, good man. Welcome, Fredzer. Welcome, Carol. Sorry, not Carol. Cara. I'm already starting to lose it. Brendan. Martin is in there as well from Bonn in Germany. Welcome from Deutschland. Stuart Walsh is tuning in from Cork. Well, you're very welcome tuning in from Cork. Patriotic Irish Mommy is in here too. Always good to have a patriotic Irish mommy in the house. You're also very welcome. Clonmel, County Tipperary, I believe. Sandra Carroll, Toronto in Canada. Wow, Toronto. Chris is in Kildare. Kildare, beautiful place. I understand, drove through it, I think, on the way to the Cork protest. People flying in from all over the place now. I've got 120 in the live chat. Brendan says he's a Lisburn man like myself. Indeed, I was born in the Lagan Valley Hospital in Lisburn 52 years ago yesterday. Yes, it was my birthday yesterday. So talk about born, reared in Lisburn. Me too. For my sins, and I've moved around to within about a 10-mile radius of Lisburn in my life. And who knows, I'll maybe end up back there someday. Only the good Lord alone knows. Mike, what about me? Yes, Mike, what about you? Let us know where you're from. Beavis is from the Netherlands. Welcome, Beavis. Tell us, is Butthead going to be tuning into the live stream as well? Let's hope so. Happy birthday, Rick, says Daniel Murray. You're welcome. Happy belated birthday. You're welcome. I don't have a big issue with birthdays. Craig Donald, the man himself. You're welcome, Craig. You're very welcome. I just do low key. I didn't go anywhere far or do anything spectacular. Spent some time in the house with my family, watched some good documentaries, ate some pizza, had a little slice of cake. Just the three of us plus the cats, and that was as much as I did. And it was as good a day as I've ever had, to be quite honest with you. Kevo's calling in from Italy. Wow, that's pretty cool. From Italy. Chiami un medico, mi sento male. If you're Italian, you'll know what that means. If you're not, you won't have a clue what I've just said. Patrick McGuigan, happy belated birthday. You're welcome. Hey, pal, love the channel, says pool player. You're very welcome also. So thank you for all your messages. Almost prophetically, I might add, Sandra Carroll has posted a message up here to say Waterford protest needs to be highlighted. Not much in social media. I actually have a little poster of that to put up here tonight. So I will be promoting it, letting people know what I know about it on the live chat here tonight. So thank you for highlighting that, Sandra. Fear not, Waterford shall be highlighted. And in fact, do you know what I'll do? Do you know what I'm going to do? Someone has said best channel on YouTube, so that's got to be highlighted as well. You know, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. Okay, I may not agree with you, but I'm not going to argue with it. All right, so thank you very, very much. And by the way, if you're listening to this, share it if you can, because it's a good way to get other people tuned into it. And the way to do that is if you're watching on your mobile device or a laptop, you can hit the share button. It'll bring up copy link. You can drop that into a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group or whatever you like. or send it out as an email to someone. So, yeah, you can do that. So please kindly share the channel. Do you think the time for talking and marching is over, Rick? Well, I will say this, Damo Drog 97, I think a lot of people are starting to get very restless at the moment, and I'm only going by feedback that I've received, people sending me emails, all the comments that are left under my posts. It would appear to be people are becoming weary. They want more substance to simply walking the streets. And I've said this once, and I'm going to say it again. I'm a big believer in protest marches. I believe they do accomplish, they do get results. There's been a good result from the Roscommon march that was last Saturday, I think. The Roscommon Says No group, they saw that their iPass centre that they were protesting against isn't going ahead. We saw one in Castleblaney that wasn't going ahead. Granted, they may pop up somewhere else, but you got to take your wins where you got to take your wins where you can, and they are a great way to network with people in person, and they are a great way to get to know each other and to build your own spirits up. Okay, so all those boxes are ticked. I'm 100% behind protests, and I'll never rag on them or never moan about them and say they don't accomplish anything. They do, but if you're expecting them to overthrow the government or the Dáil or replace the current crop of government, it's not going to happen. Okay, so there needs to be more to it than simply walking the streets. So do you think the time for talking and marching is over? Yes and no. No, in that we've got to keep talking and we've got to keep walking, but I'll add in there needs to be more substance to that one as well. Give a like and a subscribe, folks. Yes, that's easy enough to do. Just hit the thumbs up button if you like what you hear so far. If you don't, you can even give it a thumbs down if you want. I'm not going to fall out with you about it. And don't forget, you can share the content as well. So please feel free to do that. So Catherine says, Rick, how can I support your channel? I'm not tax savvy. Well, it depends on what you mean. I mean, to be honest with you, people that are watching the live streams, people that are watching the videos, people that are sharing the videos, commenting on them and giving them thumbs up, that all helps with the algorithm, which means more people get to see the videos, which means I get more exposure. So that's a way to support the channel. You don't have to, you can join, you can become a channel member. If you look at the little box underneath the videos, it'll say subscribe if you're not subscribed, or it'll say join. That's an option for you. You don't have to do it, but what I do is I try and give somebody a little bit extra if they join. It's only like €1.99, €1.99 a month, or 50p a week. It gets an extra video a week for channel members only. So every Wednesday night I do a Q&A session for channel members. So I was looking at a comment. I do a Q&A for channel members, and the day before you get there's a private chat. You can ask me direct questions and then I answer them on a Wednesday night. So I do 4 of those videos a month, 1 a week on a Wednesday night, so you can become a channel member, or there's a little box somewhere there saying buy me a coffee, just whatever. It's up to you. Nobody has to do anything, and I'll never solicit for contributions or financial support, never. But some people, they want to do it, and it does help the war effort. So if you feel like it, do it. If not, just keep watching, keep sharing, keep commenting, give it the thumbs up. Everything, and I mean everything, helps. So what else have we got here? Yeah, we've got this business about Tallaght in Dublin as well. If you're not familiar with this story, I'm going to be talking about this one as well. It's actually in the title of the live stream, Vigilante Ireland. Is it on the rise? So I'm going to have a look at that one as well. See what's happening with that one. Patrick McGuigan, thank you very much. Says, I've been sharing your videos to my Facebook. I got so many messages from people saying they had no idea things are so bad. Indeed, and as time goes by, listen, the more content that's put out there, not just by me, but by a lot of other people, that are making content similar to this, You just got to keep chipping away at it. You got to be consistent. Got to keep banging it out there as much as you can. So that's what I do. And as I make the content, I've always said people are free to take it and share it and, cut and paste it or even use it, repost it on your own page. I don't care. Once I've made the content, you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. So thank you, Patrick. That's one way to get the word out there. That's one way to get the word out there. What's your Q&A is last week? Thank you, Cara. Yes, a lot of people I don't even think know that option's there. If you're listening right now and you're a channel member, make sure you check every Wednesday night for my channel only uploads. There's always a little black box with no risk, no reward media on it. So, you still get, everybody else still gets access to all the other public stuff. But I think a lot of people don't even know about that thing, even though they are members. Okay. Craftastic says, do you think things will ever go back to be like it used to be? No, I don't. Let me say this. I'm not being pessimistic here, but things will never go back to the good old days again. And the best analogy I can give, if I can give you an analogy, if you break a mirror or you crack glass, you can put it all back, and all the pieces are still there. Okay, you can put them all back together again. You can put them all in that frame. You can glue them to the backboard. It can still function as a mirror, but you're always going to see the cracks. You can't miss the cracks. So you can go back to a functioning Ireland. You can go back to a semblance of the way things used to be, but will it ever get completely back to the way it was? No, I don't believe so. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Jack Ferreter says, love your channel, Rick. Why did the Pulse show stop? It kept me sane every morning. As far as I know, Jack, as far as I know, they're still going. The Pulse is still going, although I think it's a reduced number of people that are broadcasting on it. But the last I knew, they were still doing some programming at 5 days a week anyway. So feel free to go back and check that out on their old website address. You'll be able to still catch content there. I think, to be honest, I'm so focused in on what I'm doing here. I'm not really keeping up with other people's work at the minute. I'm just zoomed into this one. Sorry, the wrong comment, although that's a good comment as well. Laura says, Rick, can we hear your insights into digital ID cards? Yes, you can. Oh, Tim Hinchcliffe, my goodness me. This is a guy here. I'll be talking about digital IDs, but if you don't already do it, Tim Hinchcliffe is an absolute legend. He is an independent journalist. He is the editor of The Sociable, online focus magazine on digital IDs, the fourth industrial revolution, you name it. He knows about it, the World Economic Forum, the whole shooting match. So if you don't already do so, if you have the X platform or you have the Twitter platform, go on there and look up his name, Tim Hinchcliffe, not Hinchcliffe, Hinchcliffe, okay? Or check out his website, which is sociable.co, sociable.co, and he's based in Medellin, in Colombia, the home of Pablo Escobar. So, Tim Hinchcliffe, lovely to see you on here as well, my friend. And he is was one of my regular contributors when I was on TNT. So I'm absolutely stoked. Stoked to see you on there. Tim, people are asking, is there a link? So kindly, Tim, put a link in the live chat to your X page, if you don't mind, or your Twitter page, so some of the people on here can link up with the work that you do. So I can't recommend Tim Hinchcliffe enough. And he's beaming in he's an American, beaming in from Colombia. So you're very, very welcome also, Tim. And it's an absolute pleasure to see you on the live chat here. So I suppose we should kick off here the content for tonight. I was looking at going for an hour and a half, but let's just see how we go. Yeah, if you have a mod, I could put this in the link. You know what? I'm funny. I still don't have a mod. I'll maybe get a mod. I'll maybe do a lucky dip and someone can be a mod. Maybe I could do it. Could I do it? The only problem is I'm on the computer at the minute, and I would have to do it by the phone. Let me look this up. Because I want to get Tim Hinchliffe some love. Okay, so Tim Hinchliffe. There he is. Right, so let me see. So here we go. Oh my goodness. Now you're going to have to look at this pretty quick. Tim Hinchliffe. So this is the @ right? So check your live chat there. So that's it. So get onto Twitter or X and follow Tim. If you want to know anything, get it real deep insights on everything, Fourth Industrial Revolution, Digital ID, Agenda 2030, the whole shebang. That's the man to go to. So let's go back to Ireland. And some people have been mentioning or bringing up about the Waterford protest that is due to take place, I believe, over the next few days. Let me. So this is what I have on it, and I don't have any other information other than this poster that was doing the rounds up until recently. I don't know if it still is, but national protest, Gran Ahern. That was a group, I think, that was unraveled or unveiled at the last Dublin protest, Gran Ahern, Love of Ireland or Love for Ireland. I'm not sure if it's still operating under that banner, because since the last Dublin protest, there's been various factions, I think, have went their separate ways. I don't exactly know what's happening with Gran Ahern, but either way, it is Gran Ahern. House of Waterford, the Mall, 26th of July at 2 p.m. Saturday, I think that's coming on Saturday. Yes, Saturday, the 26th of July at 2 p.m. So that's all the information I have. Bernard Gillespie is in the chat also. Special shout out to Bernard Gillespie. Bernard is an older man with a lot of wisdom. I believe he's in his 80s, and he has a posse of octogenarians following No Risk, No Reward Media. So big salute to Bernard and anyone else that he has told that is happening with this stream here tonight. So you're very, very welcome, Bernard. So yeah, the protest coming up this Saturday, House of Waterford, the Mall, 26th of July at 2 p.m. And it looks like Thomas Francis, I don't know who that is, some guy on a horseback there. So that's the info that I have on it. I don't have any other information. I'll maybe show this poster again before the stream finishes later on. So that's the Gran Ahern poster. So there you have it. So let's look at some other goings on that are happening here. So Vigilantism. Well, I'll start off with this video clip. Sorry, Irish Mommy's here. Let's see. Hi, Rick. I'm from Waterford. Unfortunately, so far up to now, we're always outnumbered. Hopefully that will change. Yes, hopefully it will, Irish Mommy. So you are down in Waterford yourself, so let's hope that there's a good turnout for you guys on Saturday. Okay. This is going to turn out like the Weimar Republic. Well, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Let's look at this video here. Now, this is a clip, and I'll pause it.
They're going to tell him I'm going to rape your wife and all, he said.
Won't be doing that.
I'm going to rape your wife and all, he said. He closed that door. Look, there's all this stuff. Look at that. All this shit.
So what you've just watched, and I'm going to play it again, is this is a an invader, literally a home invader. The woman that filmed this video lives in Dublin 1. This was filmed last night at about 11 p.m. Filmed at about 11 p.m. This man tried to break into this woman's house or her flat or apartment. Yeah, and thankfully she had reinforced the property or the doors of the property with extra bolts, and her husband thankfully was in the property at the same time. He was alerted to this furore, and he was trained in jiu-jitsu. He was trained in jiu-jitsu, and he was able to take this guy to the ground and put him in a headlock or a heel lock or a heel hook, whichever it was, and subdue him until the Garda arrived, and Garda Síochána arrived. So if he hadn't been in the house, if the husband hadn't been in the house, this guy here, and he was carrying a bag of stuff, and there's obviously been some injuries happening there. There's some red stains on the floor and on the back of that guy's jumper or whatever it is that he's actually wearing. He's not actually wearing any shoes in this clip either, and he's being arrested by the guards. It could have been extremely bad for that woman, because he was making threats to carry out a serious assault on her. And I don't want to use the exact terminology in case the video gets taken down, but you know what I'm talking about. He threatened to, let's just say, get closer to the man's wife in a violent fashion. So I'll play the video again, and you can see him on the ground struggling before the guards take him away. And I mean, they're not even wearing any. I'm just looking at it. They're not wearing any gloves or anything like that, and there's a lot of blood around there. So I mean, there's got to be a risk there to, you could get hepatitis or you could get anything from bloodborne diseases. So we'll just have a quick look at it again.
They're constantly telling me I'm going to rape your wife, and all he said.
Won't you doing that?
He's going to rape your wife, and all he says, he closed that door. Look, there's all this stuff. Look at that. All this shit.
Now, apparently this lady that's filming this lady has epilepsy also. I saw her Twitter channel and Twitter page today, and she was putting an account of this down. Apparently she said the guards took this guy away and said that they didn't need to worry about, her and her husband didn't have to worry about making a statement. Don't worry about it. I thought that was odd. And she said she had a seizure shortly after this as well. So this happened in Dublin 1. So if any of you are listening in from Dublin 1, let me know down below. Are you aware of this occurrence that happened late last night? And if so, did it happen anywhere close to you? Saoirse Nahern also just shared out to you. Welcome to the live stream. Craig Donald says, I had a foreigner in a bar filming women's backsides when dancing. Was not allowed to put him out because I would look like a racist. Yeah, you could have ended up being arrested yourself, Craig. That's the state of affairs that we're in at the minute. And in fact, someone said, I'm surprised this woman's husband wasn't arrested for putting this guy in a hold and holding him and pinning him to the ground until the guards arrived. You've seen instances of that in America, where that guy on the subway recently, he was, he died shortly after he was restrained. He was, in a bad way, and he'd been attacking and threatening people on the subway. But he was he could have been facing a long prison sentence for that. The guy that subdued him, I think he was an ex-Marine, or he was an ex-armed forces guy. So crazy. So this is a video. This video here was taken in Dublin won. But now I don't have the video for this, or at least I'm not going to play it because it'll probably get the, it's a bit graphic. But this is an interesting one to discuss. So there was another attack that happened in Dublin over the weekend, and apparently an Indian man was set about by a group of Irish youth. I don't know what age they were. They could have been, teens or early 20s. I don't know. If you're under 40 now, I classify you as a youth because I'm getting old. All right. So there was a group of Irish youth set about this Indian guy in Tallaght. Now, apparently, the reason why they did it was he had allegedly been behaving inappropriately. Let's just say that, in the area. This was investigated allegedly by An Garda Síochána. And Garda Síochána claimed that there was no evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever. So those are the two sides to the story. And this guy got a real beating by the look of it. He was bleeding. He was badly bashed up. I think some of his clothing had been removed and he was staggering around in the streets. So this is coming up here. This was a report that was put out today. This is a report that was put out today saying the Park Hill Road area in Kilnamana in Tallaght. So that's the area. The headline reads, condemnation of an appalling attack on a man falsely accused and stripped by a gang in Tallaght. So Garda sources say they're satisfied the man was not behaving inappropriately and was wrongfully targeted. So the assault of an Indian man falsely accused of inappropriate behavior has been condemned as a racist attack by local representatives. I'm going to look up this here. This is a message. And by the way, thank you all for leaving your comments in the chat here. They're flying up the screen. And I'm sure there's a way for me to slow them down, but I'll never keep up with them, to be quite honest with you. So I'm trying to glance at them with one eye and read this story with the other eye. So I appreciate everyone leaving chats, but I know you're all able to read your own chats, and a lot of you are interacting amongst yourselves in the chat, which is great. Knock yourselves out. That's part of the reason to do these live streams, is to give it a little bit of an element of community every couple of weeks on a Monday night. Liz Pepper left a message. She said another story regards that, Rick, that the parents attacked him. Two different stories, and of course all the do-gooders are giving out, yet never mention when it's an Irish person. Well, that's the whole thing, Liz. That's the problem. I don't see anybody coming out condemning the home invasion where the man threatened to seriously assault that woman whose husband thankfully was there to subdue him, and the Garda had to come and remove him. I don't hear any condemnation about that. Was that a racist attack because he was targeting a white family? Let's think about it here. If you want to play the racism card, technically speaking, you could do it for that home invasion. There were two white Irish people in there and they were attacked by a foreign man. So, was that, are you going to apply the same logic to that story as well? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'm looking up some of these comments on. Dogman says he was walking around with a jumper on. Yeah, apparently that's because he had clothing removed. Some other people say he was, he was doing other things. So I'm just saying I don't know. There's two sides to the story here, and yeah, I'm sure the truth might come out, or maybe it won't come out if it doesn't fit a certain narrative. So Epping, yes, there's another question for you guys as well. So the message there from Gloria is Epping in the UK are fighting back. I know there's a lot of people listening in here from outside of Ireland. So if you're in the UK, are you following the Epping protests? Are you following that? Are you seeing echoes of that in what we've had in Ireland over the last few months? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think about Epping? And is there a possibility they've been looking over at Ireland, looking at the like of Ballymena or the like of Larne or Portadown or Coolock, and seeing, well, you know what? We're not being listened to. We're being ignored. We're being gaslit. We're being demonized and vilified for raising legitimate concerns about who's coming into our area. So, you know, Epping in the UK are fighting back, or some people are saying that it's all highly orchestrated. It's highly orchestrated, and, you know, agent provocateurs are coming in to get clampdowns, get people arrested, get them put behind bars. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's organic, or do you think it's synthetic? Do you think it's manufactured? What do you think? 500 men planned for my area in the next 2 weeks. Is that confirmed? Is that the word on the street? How close are they going to be to your house? Patriotic Irish mummy, are they going to be literally backing onto you, or is it bad enough that they're just going into the general area? If you have any more information on that or details on that, please let me know. Yeah, someone said divide and conquer. It's the golden rule. If you want to bring down an enemy, you divide them. You get them fighting amongst each other. You get them to form two factions that go at each other, and at the end of the day, neither one achieves anything because of division. And a house divided against itself cannot stand, and it will fall, and the fall of it shall be great. I think the Irish could learn a thing or two from Epping. Protest at every hotel on the same day. Well, yeah, but, you know, who's going to do it? Who's going to protest at every hotel on the same day? I'm sure there's a lot of people would be for that plan. I'm sure there's a lot of people think that's a great idea. It is. But get the numbers. Get the numbers. When you talk about Epping, we're talking about one place. When we're talking about these regional protests in Ireland, we're talking about really one place at a time. And if you have simultaneous protests, then you're dividing up the manpower. Okay. But good idea. Good idea. Paulo says, absolutely, we need different protests popping off at the same time. Spread the guards thin. Yep, that's what I mean. It's a good idea, but would you have the numbers to be able to do that? Would you have the numbers to be able to do that? Because at the end of the day, you're going to have a reasonable amount of people at each protest. If you're diluting an already small protest down further, I don't know. What do you think? Multiple protests, thumbs up, or better keeping it as one big bunch? Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat. So let's see what else we've got here. We've got a couple of videos, a couple more videos I want to play. Now, this one is interesting. This is to do with the new online age verification that's coming out today. Now, this is something that's been rolling around for a very, very long time. And some people may dismiss it, saying it's no big deal. It's just to get onto Instagram. It's to get onto YouTube. It's to get onto this. But how do you get onto it? You know, you're going to have to provide biometric identification, face scans, be checked by a third-party verification system. While people are squabbling and while people are fighting, this is what rolls in. I'll highlight another comment here. But Rick, we need leadership, real leadership. Amen. Amen. For those of you that wonder, what does that mean? It means let it be so. We need leadership, real leadership, We need the bickering to stop. Amen. We also need ports, roads, and everything blocked, farmers' lands being taken. Now they'll help, and God knows what we are capable of together. Yes, we need leadership, first and foremost, and credible leadership as well. We need credible leadership. We need cohesive leadership. Okay. We need a unified front that's composed of people with wisdom, people with standing, and young people, people from different backgrounds, people that can operate in different capacities, carry out different functions. It can't all hang on one person. It can't all hang on a charismatic leader, but a figurehead or someone to lead the charge. Is it a bad idea? Is it a good idea? I hear people talking about we have to fight for ourselves, so that if we don't do it, nobody else will. We don't need a leader. Well, the last time I saw an army that was ever successful on the battlefield, there's a general calling the shots. There's sergeants, there's platoon commanders, there's ranks, and there's files, and there's the people in the infantry on the ground. Okay, it's a cohesive unit. But if there's no plan of action, and there's no hierarchy, and there's no credibility, and there's no wisdom or discernment or unity, forget it. Just forget about it. So that's reality, folks. That's where I'm at. Leadership is vital, says Cara. Indeed, leadership is vital. So I want to look at this digital ID, or this digital identity business that's going on as well, because this kicked in today. And what I was saying was that as people are arguing and fighting online and squabbling and bitching about nothing, complete waste of time and energy that accomplishes zero, the government are working together to push things through that will further restrict your ability to access certain platforms on the internet or post certain content on the internet. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. So let's look at this bill that was launched today, and you can see what it's about.
Today sees new online safety rules come into force. Video sharing platforms must now implement robust age verification systems in a bid to protect users, especially.
Let me get rid of this. I think we're up. Okay, here we go. Let's try starting that one again.
The digital world today sees new online safety rules come into force. Video sharing platforms must now implement robust age verification systems in a bid to protect users, especially children, from accessing certain content online. Social media sites, including Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and X, are now legally obliged to protect users from harmful content. The changes aim to stop users from self-declaring their age and instead require real age verification, like photo ID or biometric checks, before accessing some online content. The changes cover content such as cyberbullying, the promotion of self-harm, eating disorders or dangerous challenges, as well as pornography and violence. Under the Online Safety and Media Regulation Act 2022, fines of up to €20 million or 10% of a company's annual turnover, whichever is greater, could be imposed for breaches of the new safety code. It remains to be seen if the new rules will have their desired outcome. Aisling Roach, Virgin Media News.
So there you have it. I'm going to play that again, and I'm going to take it piece by piece because this is very important. And again, this was squeezed into like a 1 minute soundbite. So let's see what they have to say. Let's take a piece.
The digital world today sees new online safety rules come into force. Video sharing platforms must now implement robust age verification systems in a bid to protect users.
Right. So let's, three things right there. So the first thing is robust. First thing is they need to be robust. Second thing is to protect users. And the third thing is especially children. So that's what you have. You have this being brought in for protection. It's for your protection. It's to keep you safe. It's to make sure that you don't get exposed to any bad things online and that your children are protected online. Okay. So what I'm saying is this is the Trojan horse that things are introduced under. Okay. It's for your good. It's to protect you. Okay. It's to protect our children. Right. They never cared anything about it up until now. So why the urgency for this coming in right now? So robust, what does that mean as well? It's not enough to simply say that you're 18 and over. Now you're going to have robust identification. Now, what will that mean? It could mean you have to scan your driving license. It could mean that you have to scan your passport. It could mean that you have to provide a photograph, 3D photograph, like you do if you use facial recognition on your phone screen, or it could be like a thumbprint type thing that you do again on older smartphones. I don't know, but I guarantee you there'll be a biometric element to this. And this is going to be such a pain in the backside for so many people that want to access their social media platforms. They will use it to lever in a very convenient digital ID, a very convenient digital ID. So robust, number one, protect people, number two, and especially children, number three. So let's see what else.
Especially children from accessing certain content online.
Now, there's another point. Another point. Hang on a minute. I'm going to get rid of this Muppet. So, accessing certain types of content. Again, if you don't have it, you won't be able to access certain types of content. And that's going to roll out pretty much everywhere across every single type of platform. Okay. So I believe that this is a lever or a gateway in towards more crackdowns and more authoritarianism and more control over what you can access and maybe can't access on your phones. Okay. So certain content online will be regulated or accessible if you don't comply.
Social media sites, including Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and X, are now legally obliged to protect users from harmful content. The changes aim to stop users from self-declaring their age and instead require real age verification like photo ID or biometric checks.
There you have it. Okay, so photo ID or biometric checks. Now you could say, well, if you go into the supermarket, they've got photo identification of you, which is true. But this is going to be a specific picture that you will have to have taken and uploaded onto maybe a third-party site, because they say, oh, we're going to keep this all compartmentalized and it's going to be super secure and it's going to be super safe. Photo ID or biometric checks just to access certain platforms on the internet. Okay, think about it. Think about it. So,
before accessing some online content. The changes cover content such as cyberbullying, the promotion of self-harm, eating disorders or dangerous challenges, as well as pornography and violence. Under the Online Safety and Media Regulation Act 2022, fines of up to €20 million or 10% of a company's annual turnover, whichever is greater, could be imposed for breaches of the new safety code. It remains to be seen if the new rules will have their desired outcome. Aisling Roach, Virgin Media News.
Well, I would say it's pretty sure that they'll have their desired outcome when you look at the size of the fines, up to €20 million or 10% of the company's turnover, whichever is greater or whatnot. You could be talking about 20 million. So that's for a single breach. And I would think that if anyone does step out of line, they'll be quick to crack down on them, to make an example of them, to fire a shot across other companies' bows to say, if you don't toe the line, this is what could happen to you also. So you've got that as well. So that's something worth thinking about. And of course, getting in on this, Simon Harris has been throwing out one of his terrible online videos. It's just zero personality, zero passion, zero anything. But he's talking about children and their safety online as well, which is a little bit unsettling to say the least. He reminds me of the child catcher. What is it? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? You remember that creepy little rodent used to run around with a net to catch children? Well, he kind of reminds me of that character from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So here he is.
I feel very strongly that we have to put measures in place to protect young people online, to keep our children safe.
That's who wants to keep your children safe. How convincing is he? Do you believe him? Do you believe what he says?
I'm really pleased that today Ireland's online safety code comes into force, and this now means that there are now enforceable rules in Ireland around age verification processes, and these are procedures with real teeth, an ability to fine companies who breach these rules up to €20 million. We've got to do more in this area, but an important step forward, a landmark day.
Now look at that smirk on his face. If you didn't know who that was, and you hadn't heard what he just said, irrespective of the content, looking at Simon Harris, would you honestly believe that he has your child's best interests at heart, above and beyond you as a parent? Okay. Now that video is less than a minute long, and it's delivered just in a monotone delivery. You know, he's doing a simple hand gesture. He's sitting there at the same table he always sits at. He's either sitting at that table or else he stands up and walks away from it towards the camera for all of 20 odd seconds as the poor cameraman is stumbling backwards, I would think. So let's hear him again.
As you know, I feel very strongly that we have to put measures in place to protect young people online, to keep our children safe.
There you go again. Keep our children safe. Keep our children safe. They don't give a damn about your kids. Maybe he cares about his own. I can't comment. I don't know what he's like as a father. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't give a damn about my child. If you're listening in here, do you actually think that he cares about your child? Do you actually think he wants to implement anything to keep your children safe? Or have I completely misread this guy? I completely misread this guy.
I'm really pleased that today Ireland's online safety code comes into force, and this now means that there are now enforceable rules in Ireland around age verification processes, and these are procedures with real teeth, an ability to fine companies who breach these rules up to €20 million. We've got to do more in this area, but an important step forward, a landmark day.
So there he is, grinning, saying it's a landmark day. It's a landmark day in Ireland. I'm sure it is. I've no doubt that it's a landmark day, but is it a landmark day for all the wrong reasons? That's the question that needs to be asked. So what do you think? In the comments, you've heard the report from Virgin News. There was other ones as well. Of course, RTE produced one. Harris has produced one. Various people are banging on about this. But to be honest, while everybody else has been fighting and squabbling and bickering about, you know, who's a real nationalist and who's not, and who should take a microphone on the stage and which party we should report or support and one thing and another. While all that's been going on, a lot of online talking's being done. They've been sitting around in the Dáil or sitting around whatever cauldron they hang around and coming up with this plan that they've now implemented today, Monday, 21st of July. So I have one more story that I'm going to bring to you here, and this is to do with Donegal. Okay, this is Donegal. Why is he coming up on my screen again? To want him. Let's get rid of Simon Harris. What do you think? Thumbs up to get rid of Simon Harris. So Donegal. Check this out. Donegal has the second highest number of homes accommodating Ukrainian refugees. Donegal doesn't get talked about a lot. Most of the focus seems to be down around Cork, Waterford, Galway, Sligo, which there was a good showing on Saturday, by the way, in Sligo. If you haven't done it, check out Philip Dwyer's live stream for that. He did a really good live stream on it. But Donegal, we've seen some activity in and around Bundoran and also Letterkenny over the last few months. And this is a story that came out today. Donegal has the highest number of homes accommodating Ukrainian refugees. More than 2,000 private properties in Donegal are now accommodating Ukrainian people. 2,000 private properties, guys. 2,000 private properties. Now accommodating Ukrainians under the government's Accommodation Recognition Payment, ARP scheme, new figures reveal. So the government, and bearing in mind, this is set against the backdrop of Irish homelessness, of which the numbers are pushing up towards 16,000, including 5,000 to 6,000 children. The government are happy enough to fund the use of 2,000, more than 2,000 private properties in Donegal alone. In Donegal alone, accommodating Ukrainian people under the government's Accommodation Recognition Payment Scheme. In other words, paying people to let their properties out to Ukrainians. 2,000 properties plus in Donegal alone. With 2,070 claims, Donegal accounts for the country's second largest volume of ARP claims, with Dublin holding the highest at 3,292. So let's do the mathematics here. 2,070 in Donegal, 3,000, so let's call it 3,300 in Dublin. So what's that? 5,370 private properties in Dublin and Donegal alone are being let out to Ukrainian refugees under the Accommodation Recognition Payment Scheme. The number of private properties in use for ARP across Donegal has increased by 30% since the beginning of this year. Now, if you look at Ukraine on a map, it's huge. And just about all the fighting and the war has been contained along the eastern border with Russia, the Donetsk area, Kiev area, Donbass region. And there had been balance there for a very, very long time before the official military operation began in February of 2022. But this year in Donegal, the payments for private properties has increased by 30% since the beginning of 2025. You would like to think that it was winding down as this thing goes on. The scheme provides a monthly tax-free payment of €600 to those providing accommodation to those who arrived in Ireland under the EU Temporary Protection Directive. Since the scheme launched in July 2022, over €339 million has been paid to 26,100 recipients in respect of housing over 56,700 temporary protection beneficiaries. So 56,000 Ukrainians were put up courtesy of the Irish government and private properties, and 16,000 Irish homeless still remain with no homes and still remain in temporary accommodation. Temporary accommodation. Liz Pepper says, yes, the war started in 2014 when the Ukrainians were killing their own. That's true. If you want to look at when the real aggro started in Ukraine, well, it actually went before 2014, but go back to 2014. Have a look at that. So that's Donegal. As of the 13th of July, which was last Sunday, Some 16,900 hosts are accommodating almost 40,000 temporary beneficiaries in over 21,000 properties. So again, 16,000 Irish homeless, but 39,600 Ukrainian refugees are being put up in private properties. Figures for the Department of Justice, Home Affairs and Migration, as revealed to the Sinn Féin deputy Matt Carthy, shows a 17% rise of properties registered in the ARP scheme since January. The payment has dropped from €800 from the 1st of December 2022 to 31st of May, and it has been reduced to €600 a month from the 1st of June this year. So the question is, will that have a knock-on effect? Will we start to see people saying, well, it's not worth my while putting them in there now? Like, they were getting €800 a month, which is 9,000, say €10,000 a year per property. So if you had a property portfolio, maybe a holiday home, you weren't doing anything much with it. 10 grand a year, 3 years worth, 30,000, tax-free. I think it was tax-free. Let me double check. Yeah. Number of property. Yeah. Scheme provides a monthly tax-free payment. It's now €600, but it was 800. So what do you make of that? What do you make of that? Do the sums. And, you know, people are saying there's too many empty properties in Ireland, and, you know, it's not a problem with Ukrainians coming in or refugees coming in or asylum seekers coming in. It's the properties aren't being optimally used. Well, there's tens of thousands of properties that are being used to house Ukrainian refugees, while 16,000 Irish homeless remain in temporary accommodation or sheltered accommodation, or what? So, a question to ask for anyone that's still here, and I appreciate all the comments. There's a lot of comments being left here tonight. It's good to see everybody bantering in the live chat. What's the mood out there among you people? Do you guys feel more optimistic about things than you did at the start of 2025, or less optimistic? What's your mood? What do you think? Are you getting despondent? Someone asked me the question, you know, do you think people are getting that they feel like more needs to be done? What do you think? You know, despair. Ricky says Raymond. Okay, let's look at that word and let's just get real here. Despair is a very strong word, and I'm not saying you don't feel despair, Raymond, believe me, and it's not any kind of criticism on you, but despair is the opposite of hope. Okay, and the technical meaning of despair is, well, I'll give you the meaning of hope. Okay, so basically what hope is, when you look out around you and you see the mess that's in our streets, in our schools, in our hospitals, in our government, no taking away from it, it's a mess out there. But hope is that despite what you see, you have a belief that things are going to get better. That's hope. So things are grim. You know they're grim. You acknowledge that they're grim, but you believe they can get better. That's hope. Despair is the opposite of that. Despair is you look around you as you're doing, and you're seeing things are in an absolute shambolic state. You've got a treacherous government, and you don't believe things are going to get any better. Hope that can change for you, Raymond. I do, but I understand it. Michael O'Sullivan says optimism. If you don't mind me asking, Michael, if you can, tell me why you're optimistic. Okay, I'm not being funny here, but tell me why you're optimistic. What in particular has you feeling optimistic, just for the benefit of the other people that are listening in to the chat here? What's making you optimistic? What are you basing that on? Is it a personal feeling? Is it what you're seeing? What are you basing your optimism on? Bernard O'Rafferty says his mood looks like an angry face with an expletive. coming out of it there. Again, Bernard, what in particular is grinding your gears right now? I mean, like, there's no shortage of things, I'm sure, that aggravate you. But what is it in particular? What is it in particular that's bugging you right now? And there's a lot to choose from. Thank you, Shaz F, by the way. Hi, Rick from Drogheda. Shared your live stream on X. Never miss a post. Thank you very much, Shaz F. I appreciate that very, very much. There was another good comment there. I've just missed it. It's like baking a cake, says Sean. They're combining the ingredients and the outcome is a cull. Okay. Michael Brizzle says, I'm optimistic because the pendulum is about to swing back very quickly. Things may get bad, but they must for us to win. Bring it on at this stage. Yeah, I think it's getting to that point, Michael. You know, when you do everything right and you try and be civil and you do everything with a good heart and good intentions and you're slated for it and demonized for it and vilified for it and slandered for it, and in reality, all you're doing is trying to do what's right by your own family first and foremost, and your own kids if you have them. And you're dismissed as some kind of a fanatic extremist. I believe there's only so much of that people can actually take. Things may get bad, but they must for us to win. Well, you know, that's a fact. This is a battle we're in. We're in a war at the minute. And although no shots per se have been fired, not physically, not in the traditional definition of a war, we're most certainly in a war for our future and for our kids as well. You know, and that's the art of war. If you read Sun Tzu's Art of War, you know, the best way to win a battle is not even to make your enemies know that they're engaged in a fight. And there's a lot of sleeping people out there that still don't know what's going on. Boiling Frog says the government wants to kill us off. Yeah. If you don't know what the boiling frog is, well, this isn't anything to do with your name, but you know, if you want to boil a frog, the best way to do it is to stick it in a pot of water and slowly bring it up to temperature. It doesn't realize then that it's cooking, but if you drop it into boil, it just hops straight back out again. And that's exactly what's been happening to us. Exactly what's been happening to us. Islam will fill the void left without the church. Well, you know, they're certainly making strides that way. No doubt about it. What's your opinion, Rick? Love your channel and you do a fantastic job. Well, I don't know if you've just joined the stream or not, Ned, but you know, I've been talking about this. You know, there's got to be so much more done. We've got the manpower. I believe we'll have enough people to affect the change, but it's completely splintered, fragmented, disjointed, and without any actual vision and actual proper leadership at the minute. It's a huge army, but with no real direction and guidance. So we need to get some kind of infrastructure in place on an actual battle plan, and then we need to start implementing it. Like anything, it's like running a business. If you go to the bank and you tell the bank manager, listen, I want to start a business, I need a loan, I need some money to get started. The first thing the bank manager is going to ask, he said, right, where's your business plan? Some people said, oh, what do you mean business plan? He said, well, have you got a 5-year business plan? Can you tell me what you're going to do in year 1? Can you tell me what you're going to do in year 2? Can you tell me what your projections are for year 3? Can you tell me you're going to expand? Can you tell me how you're going to grow your business? Can you tell me how you're going to pay this all back? oh no, I can't do that. I haven't thought about that. We just know we want to have a business. We just know we want to do our own thing. You'll be kicked out. You'll be kicked out. Lady of Era says, Rick, be your own leader. You can't go wrong. Well, that's true on a personal level. But I mean, like I've said this earlier on in the stream, if you actually think we're in a war, and I believe we are, there has to be some kind of coordinated front put together. Yes, I agree with you. Look after yourself first and foremost. Set your own house in order first and foremost. Look after your own family first and foremost, 100%. But if you want to mount a viable opposition, like no army that ever won a battle ever won without a general or a leader or somebody, at least a collective of people that had a strategy. And then people could fall in behind it because they had faith in the leadership and they had faith in the strategy. At the minute, I don't believe anyone is looking around going, yes, that's somebody I could get behind, or many people could say that, or yes, we have a definite concrete strategy, what to do going forward. Those things are lacking. And I believe in lacking those things. I believe the statement that you've just made in the meantime, yeah, focus on yourself, keep yourself right, try and operate and coordinate at groups in the area that you're in. But other people are saying, yeah, we definitely need a leader. I'm not talking about blindly following people either, by the way. I'm not talking about that at all. Because, you know, if the person that you're thinking about getting behind is not legit, they don't have any experience, they don't have any credentials, they can't act like an adult, they can't string a sentence together, they can't speak powerfully, communicate a message powerfully, well, then you don't get behind them. And again, there's a real dearth of that at the minute as well. Somebody said about Michael Collins, one good man. Yeah, I mean, like look at any great generals in history. You know, look at Napoleon. Look at whether people liked them or not was another thing, but they got the job done. Look at Alexander the Great. People that conquered nations and territories. You know, they needed an army to do that. They needed an army to do that, but the army had to believe in the leader. The army had to have faith in the leader. The army had to look up to the leader and be inspired by the leader. Who's inspired at the minute? Who's inspired at the minute? Thank you, Pinocchio Pete, for that gift. It's much appreciated. First out should be the career civil servants. Great work. I appreciate that. Another message about the diaspora. James says, Rick, we need the diaspora. Yeah, indeed. Calvin Minister, why do you not stream in Rumble where the comments are filtered? Because I don't believe in Rumble. I only operate on YouTube. So many people, that's another thing, splitting their time between 10, 15, 20 platforms. I'm on Rumble, I'm on YouTube, I'm on BitChute, I'm on Odyssey, I'm on streaming on X, I'm streaming on this, I'm streaming on that. I just can't be arsed opening all these accounts up. So sorry, I don't mean that. Sounded quite aggressive towards you. It wasn't meant to sound like that at all. That's why I don't stream on Rumble, because it doesn't have anywhere close to the reach that YouTube is. And I opened a Rumble channel about 6 months ago. There's one video on there and I've got about 12 subscribers, so I don't bother with it at all. And the comments are filtered. That's not a bad thing, because the amount of crap that numpties spam on live streams is unbelievable. I've already had to ban 3 dickheads off this channel here tonight, so I'm glad the comments are actually filtered. If you're putting your point across, anyone is putting their point across in an adult, mature, grown-up way without being inflammatory or being, you know, inciting hatred, you should get your comments through. Not all of them do, by the way, and I'm not saying you have to be a prude, okay, but I'm just saying most of the comments that do get posted here probably get through any comment filter on there. So that's why I don't stream on Rumble. It's not worth it. Not worth my while splitting it with several channels. So again, that sounded quite when I said that, but it wasn't directed at you. So don't take anything. That's the thing as well. You know, a lot of times people leave comments and my replies to them can seem quite abrupt. But I don't mean to be. I am quite an abrupt person, but I always say things almost always in love. Okay, almost in love. What else have we got here? Some people saying they like the channel. You're more than welcome. Thank you for listening. I don't even know why, quite frankly. It's just me staring at the channel, thinking about getting some stuff, sticking it on the walls to make things a little bit more interesting in here. I've got a green screen behind me. I can put graphics up on it, but I can't even be bothered doing that. So the person that asked me to stream on Rumble, I can't even be bothered using my own green screen. All I have to do is this, and it's there. I put on the studio lights that I have. I don't even use them. I can't be bothered. I just like simplicity. I just like simplicity in life. That's it. Holly Hollingworth said she could put up some nice wallpaper. Thanks, but wallpaper, I'm not so sure about that. Maybe a nice mural. Holly, if you're handy with a paintbrush, a nice mural would be good. JB says, hate speech, digital eardropping, digital ID. They're lining up the ducks to finally park us where they want us. Bill brought in last week in the Dáil can seize your house property. Yeah, that's the CPO, the compulsory purchase order. Compulsory purchase order. So that's possibly coming in. Let's see. Somebody's asked me if I support a United Ireland. Where is it? Oh, it's gone. Send me that comment again. I'll highlight it. I'll answer your question. Occidental, I think was the name. Honesty reporting. I love raw reporting. Well, to be honest, I can't do anything else, even if I wanted to. This is it. All right, this is what I do. Holly Hollingworth, love it when you're live. Yeah, Holly, I used to broadcast live 5 days a week, 3 hours a day for nearly 2.5, 3 years with TNT. So I'm kind of used to it, or at least I got used to it. Somebody else mentioned about Shulna Hearn. Yes, I had Niall on last week talking about Shulna Hearn, and also put up a clipped video from the interview that we did last week on Shulna Hearn on Saturday. So yeah, I've encouraged people to go and check out Shulna Hearn and check out Niall. And Harry Strickler in your background. What I try and do is, right, I have made it clear, and I even said this when I was talking to Niall last week. Okay, that although I had him on, and I think he's the first person that I had on from any kind of political aspirations, and even he had said it himself. He says, I'm not really a politician. He said, I'm a sheep farmer from Castlefin, County Donegal. I've got a young family and I love Ireland. Okay, that's his primary mover, and he doesn't want to see it disintegrating. Okay, and somebody else asked me at Cork, he said, are you in any political parties and whatnot? I says, no, I'm never going to join a political party. I won't endorse any political parties. I'll highlight ones that are doing good, and I'll call out ones that aren't doing so good. And I'm going to try and stay neutral in that respect, because I could endorse somebody and they could turn out to be an absolute melter. I'm not saying that I would have a problem with that if I really felt like getting behind someone, but I'm trying to present people with facts at the minute and give my own take on what I see, and encourage you to have your own thoughts and opinions and leave them, even if they are polar opposite to what I believe in. So there you go. So let's see what we got here. John O'Crypto says, I've followed you for a long time to know you're one of the very few I still trust. I'm sorry, but thanks for being a real one. Thank you. Jono, I really appreciate that. And a lot of people are just new to me from YouTube. I started up this channel at the end of last year from scratch. I have another social media platform on Twitter, but I don't use it. It's so bad. I hate it. I hate it. And I'm shadow banned like you wouldn't believe. Like you wouldn't believe. I'm shadow banned. And I don't use it. End of story. And this is all I use at the minute. And thankfully, I've been putting content out and people seem to be getting behind it. But before I did that, some people on here used to listen to me on TNT, yourself, John, I believe, either 3X or TNT. Yep. So I've been doing this for, online now for about 3.5 years. It'll be 4 years coming January. And for 2.5 of those, it was online, 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, talking to 15 guests a week about geopolitics and everything that was going on in the world. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, Ukraine, Middle East, UK, Ireland, the whole shooting match. But now I'm just focusing in on what's happening in Ireland. Paul McKeown says YouTube are blocking comments. If that's the case, Paul, there's usually language filters in there, or certain words get, if you have a word in the comment, it could get the comment banned. I don't think it's a personal thing to do with you. Another said, Rick, could you ask everyone in the chat, do they think that this will all come down to a physical fight by the people, or can be achieved through other means, such as whole Irish government leaving? Well, that isn't going to happen. Okay, I'll answer that question. You guys can answer it too. The Irish government aren't going anywhere. In fact, they're going to be there for at least another 4 years, unless there's an actual revolution, which, based on that, it's not going to happen either. Just not enough people behind it. If you can't get people out to march the streets peacefully, you ain't going to get them out to take up pitchforks and storm the Dáil. It's just not happening. Okay, so will it come down to a physical fight? I believe there's a slow squeeze on to get people so agitated and worked up that it could come down to that. But then if that does happen, there could be, it just could be simply to turn the ringleaders and people that are dissenters and get them off the streets, cut the head off the Hydra, and hopefully any revolution that's out there will fizzle out. That could be the strategy as well, and other. So it could come down to that, but whether or not it does or not is another thing altogether. Holly says, happy to have a good dust up. Yeah, indeed. And Holly, you're based in UK. Holly's been, well, you're self-sufficient too. I believe you've been working for a long time now on an allotment project, trying to grow your own food, and you're self-employed. You've got your own business. You're trying your best to remain outside of the loop when it comes to dependency out there. So again, I think Lady Era said this earlier on about being your own leader, being your own provider, being your own protector first and foremost. Yes, I think that's very, very important. I think that's very, very important. Lady Vera says some people are ready for a dust-up, I believe, John Crypto, but then there are some that are happy walking around the blocks forever, getting nowhere. Yes, see, this is it. You've got to marry the two. Got to marry the two. And I think the last time I spoke to Fergus Parr on this channel, I spoke to him once, about 2 months ago maybe, and he said, he's all, of course, for protesting and taking to the streets, but he says there has to be direct action. Has to be direct action coupled with it. JB, thank you very much for the gift. Appreciate what you do. I appreciate you tuning in, and I appreciate your support. The UN WF, our politicians are captured, our media is captured, our culture is unlikely to survive. The UK is in much the same boat. You know, interestingly, this channel as well, the demographic of this channel, whenever it started off, it was about 60% Ireland. Believe it or not, it's dropped now to about 35%, even though the content is all to do with Ireland. And I was sitting thinking about this earlier on. You know, a lot of what's happening in the UK at the minute is mirroring very, very, very closely exactly what's happening in Ireland at the minute. You know, the UK have a completely treacherous, corrupted, compromised government. They have an open borders policy. They are treading their people down into the ground. There's two-tier justice. You know, even the Epping stuff as well. You know, I'm thinking, should I do a little bit more coverage on that? I'm just thinking about it, you know, just thinking about it. But the location doesn't really change. The principle of what's happening stays the same. We're all being trodden down. And if you're listening in from Canada, and there's people listening in from Canada here, you know, you're experiencing this too. You're experiencing the flooding. And Australia, completely flooded. Completely flooded. Why not block Croke Park on Sunday? See, that's the thing. Look, the reason why Croke Park wasn't blocked on Sunday is because there's too many people that wanted to go there to watch the All-Ireland hurling final. The thought of blocking that is completely an alien concept. And if you'd have been standing outside there with a placard saying, you know, boycott the GAA, they'd have just trampled you into the ground. Trampled you into the ground. There was a gathering down there against the Eid celebrations a month or so ago, and they just walked on in. One woman was thrown out for praying the rosary, I think. Thrown out. You know, the GAA woke, letting men play against girls. Men play against girls. Ned says, in my 55 years, I've never seen so many protests in Ireland all my life. This is new. Yeah, that's a good point, Ned. There's no doubt about it. It's almost like a valve for a lot of people too, which is not a bad thing, to get out there, to get on the streets and to raise their voices, or at least feel like they're doing something. And again, I believe this is in the absence of solid, strong leadership that everybody can get behind. So I've also said that protesting does play its part. It's good for networking. It's good to give your mental health a boost. It's good to make you feel like you're part of a group and you're not just isolated online. You can get out there into the streets, but it needs to be coupled with direct action. Robert Blunt says, too many folks still stuck in their bubbles. Yeah, a lot of people in harbours. A lot of people in harbours. And what I mean by that is, you may have heard this analogy before, to say that a ship, when it's in a harbour, is safe. Okay, it's a safe place to be. A ship is a safe in a harbour, but ships weren't made to sit in harbours. They weren't made to sit in harbours. Why not check Belfast Live? Trouble in Rathbrand over the 19th and the 20th of July. I don't know about that, Anne. I haven't seen that, but I will go and check it out. Might be on BBC News, but I doubt it. I don't know anything about it. Again, I believe the media are strongly suppressing a lot of news articles, and they're choosing how they position the ones that they are actually reporting on. So, yeah. Fixed analogies, yeah. You've heard a few of them, haven't you? So, yeah, the harbour one, it's a classic. You know, ships are safe in the harbour, but ships weren't built to sit in harbours. And that goes back to the bubble thing. Too many people sitting in their comfort zones. Too many people afraid to put their head over the parapet. Too many people afraid to take to the streets because of what their neighbours might say, what their families might say. They might be seen by their work colleagues. They might be seen. Let me tell you this on my own personal story. When I started on social media, it was around 2021. Okay, I opened a little Twitter account and started making little videos criticizing the government and the lockdowns and all that business. And at the start, I always put my face there, but I didn't use my name. My account was called No Risk, No Reward. Still is. But I didn't use my name. But my face was clearly there, and if people saw it, they would know who I am. And at the time, I was working for a large sort of government organization, a housing organization. I was working in their finance department. And for a long time, my account was small and no one really knew who I was. But then it started to grow and people started sharing this stuff out. And then people started messaging me, work emails going, hey, I saw you at the weekend on Facebook, even though I don't have a Facebook account. Or I saw you on Instagram, even though I don't have an Instagram account. So people were taking the videos and spreading them around. And then some of my work colleagues were seeing it. So to cut a long story short, I thought to myself, it's only a matter of time before I get pinched by the IT people in work or HR who say you can't be talking out against the government, right? Because, you know, we're kind of a government organization. We're the biggest social housing provider in Europe, you know, funded by the British government. And then the chief executive of that organization was changed, and the woman that came in to lead it was a member of the WEF. Okay, an actual bona fide WEF member. That was my chief executive, and I was there working for that organization. And I got to the point at the end that I hated it so much. Okay, I hated it so much, I didn't care if I got sacked. I didn't care if I got pulled in. I didn't care if I got disciplined. I'd made a decision in my life to say, I don't care. I'm going to stick to my guns because I'm not going to car down. That was just me. That was just me personally. I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to keep going the way that I'm going. And then we were all sent to work from home. And then as we were working from home, somebody saw some of those videos and somebody in Australia saw them and they were starting up a radio station. And then I was offered a job and it was a complete gamble. But I ended up quitting working for the WEF chief executive and saying, stuff it, I'm going out. I'm going to try my hand at broadcasting, even though I didn't have a clue who the people were, really. And I had no experience. I didn't care anymore. So I got out of my comfort zone in a big way, and it could have sank, but it didn't. But I didn't care. And I think it gets to the point where if you just don't care anymore, there's nothing more dangerous, guys and girls, than someone who just doesn't care anymore. It's like, I don't care what you do to me. I don't care what you say to me. I don't care how you come after me. I ain't backing down. I'm going nowhere. Okay. So that's the position I was in. It took me a long time to get to that point. But at that point, I went, I don't care. Sack me if you want. Threaten me if you want. Boot me out if you want. I'll do something. I'll find some way to make it work. So that was me. That was me. And I just kept doing this and kept doing this and kept doing this. And I've been doing this now for about 4 years, just incessantly mouthing off and slobbering and talking my mind in the simplest way that I can, because I don't know any other way to do it. And here you all are listening. Hell's bells. I'm sure you've got better things in your life to do, but here you are listening. So anyway, thanks to everyone that has actually joined the chat. Do you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I was going to quit half an hour ago. I was only going to do an hour, but then more people kept coming in, and then I ran out of stories. So I'm just reacting to what you lot are saying. So this is freestyle. This is freestyling right now. Okay, we're freestyling, right? So you put up a post, I react to the post. So come on, ask me a question. Ask me a question. I'll answer it. I'll do my best to answer. Q&A time. Q&A time. Somebody said, yes, courage is contagious. Indeed it is, Mr. Wilson. Courage is contagious. Yeah, and do you know what? Let me give you another example. Do you want another example? All right. I was in Kenya about 15 years ago, and I was in a place called Mombasa, which is down in the east coast, and it was so hot and uncomfortable in Mombasa. It was horrible. I was sweating 20. The humidity was crazy. The heat was crazy. I was drinking about 4 liters of water a day and not even passing water. That's how bad it was. It was coming straight out of me, sweat. I went about 3 days without even taking a pee. Right? And it was so hot and oppressive. And to get some relief, me and the guy that I was with used to go down to the coast because it was right on the east coast of Africa on the Indian Ocean. And there's a place in Mombasa called Fort Jesus, which is an old slave trading place. And every day I used to sit on the wall and try and get some cool air on me. And I used to look out at that Indian Ocean. And I thought, oh man, I could really do with a dip. Could really do with a dip in the ocean. I would really cool me down. It's so beautiful. The water's so beautiful. And it was just everyone sitting on the wall, but nobody was getting in the water. And I had no change of clothes and no towel. All right. So I went down to the water on my own, and I was the only white man there. And I started stripping off down to my underpants. I went and sat down in the Indian Ocean. All right. And I looked around and everyone was just watching me like, what's this crazy Mzungu doing? But a couple of people came down from off the wall when they saw me doing it. And it wasn't anything major. I just went and sat in the water. But no one else was doing it. Right. And I just felt I had to do it. But there was a couple of people then got down off the wall and they came down and they stripped off to their pants and they got in and sat down, and no one did that stuff. Right? Now, there was a lot of people still on the wall, but the fact is some people were motivated to get off the wall and get down and get into the water. All right. So what I'm saying is, I suppose this is a roundabout saying courage is contagious. You may not get everyone to move and do what you do, and that's never going to happen. But you might inspire some people. You might inspire some people to get off the wall, get down, strip down to their pants, and get in the water beside you. So anyway. Walking on water in your pot. Well, I wasn't walking on the water. I was sitting in the water. And I'll tell you more than that. I sat in it up to my shoulders, and the sun was beating down on me. And then the sun was magnified through the water, and I got absolutely roasted. And I mean roasted. When I came out of that, I didn't realize it got serious sunburn. And I actually had to go and preach in a little evangelical church. And I had no towel, and I had only my pants, so I had to improvise, let's just say. So my preaching that day was a little bit unorthodox. But anyway, courage is most definitely contagious. About the style, talk about you in Mombasa. Yeah. You know what? Sometimes you got to do crazy things. And if you do crazy things, sometimes that's what inspires people to do crazy things. You know, Eddie Paul said, should have went down to Diani Beach a bit cooler. No, I wasn't anywhere near any tourist traps. I didn't go anywhere near any resorts. I was in the bush, and I was in bandit country. Anytime I went to Kenya, all the way from Mombasa on the east coast, right the way up through the Voi, Machakos, Kenya, or Nairobi, up through the Midlands, all the way to Western Province, and then across into Uganda and down to the northern Tanzanian border. But anyway, that's another story. That's another story. Yeah, Kenya. Some people call it Kenya. Some people call it Kenya. But again, listen, it's only to illustrate a point. It's only to illustrate a point. Okay. Sometimes people get inspired by people doing mad stuff. Other people think you're wired up, think you're crazy. But some people just might say, hey, I want a piece of that action. And it could be anything. I'm sure you've all done crazy stuff in your lives, and you've all inspired people in your lives as well. So I'm not just using this as an example. Judith Grimes said, would a worldwide protest be achievable? All Western countries united? I'm going to say no. Not until you can demonstrate that you can have localized coordinated protests. If you can't coordinate a protest locally and you can't get it all together locally, and I'm not being a downer here, but we've got to be realistic. Okay, if a country can't coordinate a protest in its towns, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get them all together. However, a nod to Canada. Judith, where I believe you are at the minute, you were one of the first people into this live stream. A nod to Canada, when you guys had the Great Freedom Protest in Ottawa in February of 2022, I believe that caught the world's attention. That caught the world's attention. The Freedom Protest caught the world's attention. So much so that the truckers in Canada had their bank accounts frozen, had their commercial vehicle license frozen, had a $10 million GoFundMe fund frozen and repaid back to them because the Canadian government were terrified of what they were doing. But that was built up over time, and it was a huge coordinated effort that caught the right time. Now, that did filter over into Europe. There were trucker protests in France and Belgium, and I believe Germany as well. Yes, Tim Hinchcliffe, trucker convoy in Canada lifted my spirits greatly at the time. And this is the key. I can't emphasize this enough. Not every protest, it's not going to overthrow the government, right? It's not going to do that. It's not going to get them out of the Dáil or get them out of Stormont or get them out of, Westminster. But what it can do is it can give people a lift. A lot of people are very despondent at the minute. A lot of people are very down in their hearts and down in their spirits at the minute. A lot of people are fatigued. A lot of people are battle weary. A lot of people are saying, I feel despair. I feel angry. I feel like I'm reaching the end of my tether. A protest can give you a lift, can make you stand shoulder to shoulder with someone who's of the same mindset as you and keep you going. Right? It's not necessarily meant to overthrow a government. It's not necessarily meant to get a result the day after that everybody meets together. But it should be a means to an end. It should be part of the armory that we have. It should be part of the armory. I believe the problem at the minute is that it's looked upon as the be-all and end-all. If we all march in Dublin, if we get 100,000 in Dublin, then we'll have our problem solved. No, you won't. If you get 500,000 people back onto the streets of Ottawa, it'll solve our problem. No, you won't. If you get, 250,000 at Westminster, it'll solve the problem. No, it won't. But it'll be part of whatever solution comes to move things back to the way that they should be at. Agnes Lynch says the digital ID will be used as a weapon for all of us. Yes, it will. And that's why of all the things that you should be looking out for. And if Tim Hinchcliffe is still sitting listening to this live stream, he and I talked about this for years. Okay, it's the introduction of CBDCs linked to digital IDs. You need the digital IDs to bring about the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies. That's why today is very significant. Today is very significant in Ireland, because of the introduction of this online safety bill let me look it down, to protect people. It needs to be robust. It's for the protection of children. It's for the greater good. Okay, it's for the greater good. So yes, the digital ID will be used as a weapon for us. Canada, remember, they froze their bank accounts. Yes, I think I mentioned that. Let's see who else we got up here. Somebody asked, was I a preacher? I don't know. You tell me. Am I? Who am I to take on that title? Am I? I've done some speaking in places, usually prisons, on bush radio stations in East Africa, in slums, in hellholes. Not in churches, without any support from the church. Here and there, when I could, I read my Bible. I share the word of God with people if they're interested. Sometimes I do it when they're not interested. That's what I do. I can't do much else. I'm a talker. I'm a speaker. I don't know if I would call myself a preacher. You decide that yourself. You tell me. I'll never give myself that title because I don't believe I'm worthy of it. If anything, I'm just trying to be a messenger. Just trying to be a messenger. So we also got here in the chat. Rick just likes to keep matter. Yeah, I do. You know, that's a problem when you get me started. When you get me started. Somebody said they would like to go to church where if I was preaching. Well, let me tell you this. I had a YouTube channel that I ran 5 years ago, and it was just simply to encourage people, to give them a word from the Bible, just a little bite-sized word to try and encourage them. But it never went anywhere, never got anywhere. But it's still there, and there's a library of little bite-sized messages in it. I haven't posted anything on it in about 2 or 3 years. But if you're interested, you can look it up. It's simply Rick Munn 1, right? Rick Munn 1. So I'll put it in the chat here. If you're interested, Rick Munn 1. So there you go. That's my other YouTube channel. I only have about 700. I've worked at it for about 3 years and got about 700 subscribers. And then in the end, just people came on bitching and fighting on it. So I couldn't be bothered with it anymore. So I just left it there as a library. So if you're feeling despondent, discouraged, disenfranchised and disillusioned, you maybe want to delve into something non-political, non-governmental, non-judgmental, well, then you can go and check that out. Rick Munn 1. Might even get a couple of subscribers out of this channel. And that's the thing. I've never even mentioned it before. It's just somebody asked me, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Who else is leaving me messages here? Some people are asking me about end times and all that. Listen, ask 20 people that question and you might get 20 answers. Again, you tell me. You tell me. Paranormal says it's come up with your no risk channel, right? I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're both on the same IP address. I don't know. But if you look up, if you go to Google, just go to Google or whatever search engine you use and just type in Rick Munn 1, all one word, it'll bring up that other YouTube channel. I don't know how it works. All right. It's maybe because we're live streaming and I don't know if they're connected. I don't know. I don't really do technology very much. So anyway, persist, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened. Ask and ye shall receive. So anyway, there you go. National strike. Somebody's talking about a national strike. Yes, that's another thing that hasn't been done. National strikes, closures, and one thing and another. National strike would send a louder message, but would need a lot of organization and coordination. Could be done though. Yes. All right. So again, that boils down to what I said. If people won't come out and stand peacefully in a park to support a peaceful protest, well, it's highly unlikely that they're gonna block roads and potentially get arrested for it. I'm trying to be realistic here. All right. It's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. But yes, Mary Rose, that's the one thing that has not been used and that one weapon that has not been employed since all of this began is national strike action and wide-scale closures. Some places have been shut down, wide-scale closures. Peaceful, no violence, no destruction of property. Okay? Connor Skyline says, Rick, the times they are a-changing. Yeah, the times they are a-changing indeed. And in fact, this is a really weird thing that you bring that song up, because I don't sing. You'd be glad to know I don't sing. But on that other little YouTube channel, there's like one short video on it. And that little short video on it is me walking through the snow singing the first verse of Bob Dylan's Times They Are a-Changing. You better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. So there you go. Well, Holly says you do sing. Yeah, you're probably thinking of me trying to do my best Brian Johnson or Bon Scott impression when I was on TNT. Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call that singing, Holly. Craig, you sung that for me, brother. Did I? I can't actually remember. I can't remember. Craig's a good singer. I'm not. He's a worship man. I'm a speaker. He's a worshipper. He's a speaker too, actually. But anyway, it's getting dark here, folks, and I'm not going to put on these fake lights. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm pretty much going to wrap it up. We've had a real good session tonight. Thank you all for staying the distance and for hanging around. Went on longer than I thought, but then again, when I do these, I don't really have any set time limit on it. Don't have any set time limit on it. You can't be a messenger if you're outside of God's church. Well, actually, you can. You can be a messenger of Satan. If you read the Bible, the Apostle Paul says a messenger of Satan was sent to buffet him. So not every messenger is a good messenger. You got to be mindful of that as well. And if you're in God's church, there's a lot of bad messengers in there too. A lot of false prophets dressed up like sheep, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. So don't be fooled that just because you're in a church or you're in a church, someone standing at the front has got your best intentions at heart. The Bible said that be no marvel, Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, and as angels as ministers of righteousness. So don't make that mistake of thinking that just because you're in fellowship, that the person standing at the front of the church is legit. In fact, I would say never has there been a time of greater spiritual deception, period. But you can go and check that one out yourself. So here we are, folks. I'm gonna wrap it up. A big thanks to all of you again. Big thanks to all of you again. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whatever you're doing for this evening, I hope what you're doing is nice. God bless each and every one of you. This is Rick Munn, No Risk, No Reward Media. Over and out.